Well, good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and I'm very welcome, all guests. Good morning.
Morning.
I want to be honest with you, I was really dragging my feet to prepare for this speech. I didn't really want to be remembered about what happened last year. I didn't really want to be remembered about my left side starting to be inflamed, and all of a sudden discovering a lump. And I didn't want to be remembered about the time my doctor flew in my face and said, I'm really, really concerned about you right now. And how my oncologist told me that yes, this was a cancer recurrence. And all we could do now is control it for as long as we can. But I shouldn't have my hopes up that they could ever make this go away. I didn't want to really be remembered about this dark tunnel that I was starting to slide down in, with the slippery walls going down and down and down to the center of the earth and nothing holding me. Because it was clear how this was going to end. And I just didn't know when. And I certainly didn't want to be reminded of having to give that information to my daughter and my husband. Let me ask a question. Who of you here is a cancer survivor? Who of you is a cancer survivor? Who of you has a close relative with cancer? Who of you has a close friend with cancer? Look around. This is an epidemic. This is not an exception, it is the rule. And it touches all of us. It does. So, I had to get my act together. And I had to realize that I was on my own to figure out what I was going to do now. And I had to find a way. I had to find a way to get something done that the doctor told me I could not do. My tumor markers, which for normal people are below 40, in healthy people, were at 114.6. And I was told they're gonna go up slowly. All we do is hormone therapy to control this. Chemotherapy and all that good stuff would come eventually. And I asked my doctor a question. I said, is it impossible to get rid of this? Or do you just not know how to do it? And he said, well, according to what we know, we don't know how to do it. And that was the information I needed. When you want to get what you want, when I wanted to get what I wanted, the first thing I had to do was to fall so in love with life. So completely committed and unconditional in love with life that I would have an answer to the question, do I want to live? With yes, like that. Not just do I not want to die, but do I want to live? Do I want this life? And I realized I was hesitating. I realized this, I don't want to die was immediate, but I want to live. I wasn't really sure and scared the living daylights out of me. Because I don't want this life, I'm screwed. So what I did was first really clean house. Get rid of everything and anything that I could possibly find in my life that may have contributed to where I found myself. Emotionally, physically, mentally, trauma-wise, spiritually, relationally, energetically. I had to get rid of it, and there was absolutely no compromise. If it wasn't serving me, it was killing me, and I had no choice. I did cleaning at 6 o'clock in the morning to 12 midnight, doing whatever I needed to do. And I realized I was falling in love with life. Deeply and completely committed. The second thing I needed to do was I needed to shift my resources. My doctor had already told me that a little pill, little yellow thing this size, was going to be all I was going to be taking. Now, I'm a fighter, right? I don't take no pills one day and that's all I do, and the rest of the day I just sit around waiting if it works. This is not who I am. I needed to find testimonials. I needed to find stories. I needed to talk to people. I needed to read the books, to do the research. I needed to find, is there anybody on this planet who has ever done what I wanted to do? And if so, what did they do? And can I do that too? The next thing I knew was people started to tell me stories of their mother who had a cancer recurrence in 1943, and she died in her late 70s, but not from cancer. I found a story of Jonas, who became a friend of mine, who had stage 4 prostate cancer. And he said that after doing EFT for cleansing and after using SCFT, he was cancer-free and completely in love with his life. Now, I had SCFT from way back 10 years ago when I first had this in the back of my cabinet, and I can tell you this, it's disgusting. Right? It's disgusting when it's fresh, it's gross when it's not. It's bitter and it's stale, it's lukewarm, and it's very hard to get down. So drinking this stuff really feels like a fight. So guess what I did? I cooked whatever I had, boiled it up, found the way to do it. It's actually a little bit more involved. And the second I started scooping down my first third of a cup of SCFT, I knew that I had just broken the rules. Because I was doing that the doctor wasn't doing. And I was beginning to realize that what he was telling me was just because he didn't know SCFT. Now the people who did all confirmed testimonial after testimonial after testimonial that yes, they were cancer-free. And I thought, well, let's see what else we can do. So I committed to SCFT. Now the next thing I needed to do was find more resources. Starting the cleansing, starting the diets, starting the juicing, started the organic food. And I realized that everything I found out now was something I needed to do immediately. I couldn't sit around and wait, well, I wonder if I should be doing this. I had to get going and figure out if it works. So step number 3 is get started where you're at. I talked to a macrobiotic person who told me cancer eats sugar, cancer eats alcohol. I had my last grain of sugar and my last sip of alcohol last year in May. And I will never in my life have sugar or alcohol again, with the exception of a half a cup at my 50th birthday. Start right away and get done whatever you can get done. As soon as I learned about colon cleanses, guess what I did? I got a bucket, I tried it out. I needed to get this gunk out of my liver, and this was the fastest way to do it. So let's do it. Let's see what happens. Step number 4, course correct. You're doing baby steps anyway when you get started and try things out and see what works for you. So doing baby steps means you can get off the path a little bit. You can realize I'm doing something that doesn't make much sense. Just go back. Say, I think I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to do that. Never be ashamed of making a mistake, because you're not making a mistake, you're beating your own path. There is no mistake. There's just trial and see what happens. And step number 5, never, never, never quit. Never quit. Fall in love with your life. So I went back to my doctor 2 weeks after the diagnosis with a tumor marker of 114, and I will never forget his face when he was testing me and checking me and just said, let's see how you do. Had a weird look, went to his notes, started studying them, looked at me, came back, said, would you please lie down? And then he started to mumble and said, this is significantly smaller. Wasn't surprised. He said, by how much? He said about 50%.
Whoa.
10 weeks later, my tumor marker had dropped from 114.6 to 43.3. 10 weeks later, the tumor marker had dropped to 22.3. 10 weeks later, the tumor marker had stayed at 22.3. 10 weeks later, it was still at 25. So anything in that level is completely normal. My tumors have gone from 3 centimeters to 0. I asked the doctor, is this normal? And he said, well, it's highly unusual. I think you're responding well to treatment. And then I found out that my doctor's wife uses SCFT as well. So the last thing I needed to do was tell my doctor that he must never tell me that this will come back. Because if he does, I will not come back to him. I needed to trust that I was on my path and that I could continue my path for as long as I wanted to live. There is always a way. Just find your way.